Hello and welcome to That Man. That is my merchandise. Thank you for coming along, and today we're going to look at 5 tips I've got for collecting figures. Not necessarily anime figures, figures in general. And this is part of my ongoing series of collecting figures. I've been collecting figures for about 15 years now, and it's not always easy, but there are some ways you can kind of improve and be more savvy about collecting. This is going to have a bit more of a focus on anime figures since that's what I personally collect, but most of these things you can kind of bring over towards everything else as well. So before we even go on to the top 5, I'm going to give you a freebie right here. Can you afford to buy figures? Because it's a no-brainer, but people do it all the time. They go out, they pay 200 quid on a figure, and then they're like, I can't afford rent this month. Or I can't afford to eat. Housing, food, water, gas and electric, they are necessities. These are not. Number 5, and probably the one that's kind of a no-brainer when it comes to these things. Do you want the figure? You don't need the figure. We've already said nobody needs the figure. But do you want the figure? The way I kind of look at it is, do you still love the series now? Is the series in your top 10? Or is it top 5 or whatever? Is the character one of your favourite characters of all time? Does it complement another character that you've already got a figure of? If the answers to these are yes, then yeah, I would really consider kind of going for it. But if not, if you're kind of just buying them for just the sake of buying them so you can have an amazing collection to show off, think about it. I've seen so many people buy figures and they're just like, I really want this, I really, really want it, and then just like a few months down the line it's like, oh, I don't really care about that series anymore. Or, yeah, it's nice, but yeah, there's something about it I just don't really like. And I did it myself. I mean, I nearly purchased all of the My Hero Academia Nendroids, and back then I was like, yeah, I love My Hero Academia. I missed out on getting them. Well, actually, I chose not to get them, and then they got rare, and I was just like, oh, I wouldn't mind getting them because they're rare. And then I was like, hang on, my enjoyment of that series is kind of going down as time goes on. So why would I want to be paying 40 quid a pop or more, because obviously the resale value of those things are over the roof. Keep looking out for the resale ones. That's another little bit of a tip. But yeah, I love Fairy Tail. I bought loads of high quality Fairy Tail figures. Now I really didn't, by the time I finished I really didn't like the series. There's been ones I've bought where I'm kind of like, oh, I love this series at the moment, I'm enjoying it as it goes on. This is especially for seasonal stuff. Then like that season's ended and that series has kind of been pushed into the back of your mind and replaced with another one that's more up to date and current. So yeah, think about it before you buy it. It's like, yeah, you might like this series now, but if not, in a few months' time you might not. There's stuff that evergreen series, for me, One Piece, I know for a fact I love One Piece so much. I've been into it for 18 years. That's why most of my figures are Nico Robin. She's been my favourite character for 18 years. Of course I'm going to buy more figures of it. Other stuff, Konosuba, I got into it and I was like, oh, I like this, and then there was a few episodes in season 2 came, I was like, oh, I really like this, and then I was like, I bought the light novels, I was like, I really, really like this. And yeah, Kimono Friends, another one, I was like, oh, I would like this. Then I was like, yeah, I really like this, and it's like, oh, I've watched this 3 or 4 times, yeah, I really, really like this. But then there's like I said, My Hero Academia, I kind of been, another one is like, the Ancient Magus Bride, I really like that, and I was going to buy a few of the figures. I started hunting down the Elias Nendroid, which is expensive, and then I was kind of like, oh, actually, I'm not that into that series as much now. So before you buy it, make sure you really want it and you are going to keep wanting it. Number 4, do you have the space to keep these figures? This is another one that I see a lot of people do it, and they buy a massive figure, then they're kind of like, oh, I don't have the space for it. Oh, I don't have any space for it. Especially for people who collect the boxes as well. The figure might be big, but the box is going to be even bigger. Especially for stuff like these Portrait of Pirates figures. I personally don't really collect boxes because the figures are for me. I don't consider the resale value of them. And quite frankly, if I got to a position where I've had to sell these, I'll be trying to get rid of them as quick as possible. Yeah, I mean, for some people they collect boxes and that is a massive thing, but I know some collectors who've got like shelves and shelves, and then they just got shelves and shelves of boxes. I've got a few boxes for more expensive ones up in the loft, because I was like, well, I've got figures in the loft in the boxes, and now I'm kind of like, I don't really have the space for these. It, like, when I move or something, I might not have the space for that. So try and keep your collection manageable. Try and keep it so you kind of buy smarter. So for example, for me, Nendoroids, they're small and they're sizable enough, and you can get risers to stack them on. Big figures, I'm not going to buy loads of big figures, and if I do, I'm going to keep them into a theme. So example, this bit here is kind of all Nico Robin and Tony Chopper. There's no more space for anything in there. So I'm kind of now, if I need to buy another one needs to come out and go somewhere else. And it's the same with a lot of stuff. Like I said, I mean, you're going to get to the point where you're going to have a lot of clutter, and you're going to have the point where you're going to think, do I need to keep this or do I need to get rid of it? One of the ones I recommended when I said buy figures and stuff like that when you first starting out is the little small styling and prize figures as well, and the trading figures, and it's like they're the first ones for me to go, because they're kind of like, I like them, but these ones are nicer. These £100 ones more better on the shelf than these like £3 ones. You know what I mean? You can get them to look nice on a shelf. Like you said, we've got a little collection here, but they're not. If I have the space, if I run out of space, they're going to go before the big ones are going to go. So space is a big issue for people. It's the biggest issue for collectors, actually, more than money. Really, if you think about it, money you can save up and save up. Space, unless you're going to put another shelf in, not necessarily going to be easy. Number 3. You get a lovely figure, you spent £150 on it, you don't have enough space for it, so you put it on the windowsill. Do not do that thing. I've seen so many people where they kind of bought this figure and they're like, oh, I paid loads for it. They put it on the windowsill and sunlight kills these things, you know. Sunlight really damages these figures. Yeah, if it's a £10 one, or if it's a prize figure and you've got no other space, by all means put it on there. But don't be surprised when in a few weeks or months time that figure's not really in good condition. Some of these figures kind of like, especially for like the prize figures, like this Nico Robin one, I've got a few similar to that one, where after a while they just kind of start bending. The legs kind of stay up, and then the front kind of bends like that. So they're kind of like, these figures don't survive in heat very well, especially the cheaper ones. But if you're going to pay £150 for a figure, don't stick it on your windowsill and ruin it. Not a good plan whatsoever. Really not. Yeah, it sounds silly, but a lot of people do it, and because they just don't have the space, and it comes back to that whole space issue. If you're going to buy an expensive figure, stick a cheap one on your windowsill and make the space for that. Don't ruin your figures by putting them on windowsills. The sun will melt them, especially if you're in warmer conditions. If you're in the UK, you can kind of possibly get away with it a little bit more. Not for long periods of time, just because we don't have that climate that places like America does. But I would still recommend against doing it. Try and keep them out of direct sunlight. Keep the figures safe. You wouldn't put a dog in direct sunlight, so... Well, I mean, like, against a wind... In a locked car, I'm not saying don't walk your dogs. Walk your dogs, people. Number 2. Don't jump into a purchase. I see it all the time, and I've done it myself. I've seen Ami or Hobby Link Japan or PlayAsia or wherever, they've been like, oh, we've got this new figure, it's 120 quid, and I've been like, oh, I like that series, and I've purchased this, and they're like, that figure's not out till another year. Yeah. Oops. And stuff like that, you can manage a year. It's like, oh, well, I've got a year's space a year to make this space. I'll get rid of this one. I'll put these in storage. But more if you go into an anime convention or a convention in general. These figures, some of them are expensive. If you don't pre-order, yeah, so you pre-order, you're going to see it straight away. They're going to get expensive. I'll buy it straight away and then I'll decide. But then, if you decide you don't want it, you've got that massive box to get rid of. Yeah, but this is more for people who go to conventions. I do it all the time. I go to a convention and I was like, oh, I want a souvenir from when I've been to this convention. It was a happy memory. I'll buy this prize figure. I'll buy this 50 quid figure. Oh, they've got a nice deal on that figure. I'll buy that. And it's very tempting, especially when you go to a stall and they've got hundreds of figures and you're like, oh, I like this character. I've never seen a figure of that character before. I'll buy that. That's only 20 quid. Oh, that's a nice cheap one. And then you get home and you're like, I bought that in the moment. Where does it go on my shelf? Oh, I'll put it at the back. I'll kind of put it there. I've got like stuff like a Cosmos. I bought it for like 5 quid and I'm like, oh, it's nice. And I'm like, she's at the back of the shelf. I can just see her. If I get rid of figures, she's going to be the first one to go because I bought it on a whim. It was only 5 quid, but it's still a lot. That space that I could put a prize figure on and put in a more expensive figure on a character I absolutely adore. I like Cosmos enough. I liked her enough to buy that figure. But yeah, especially when you're kind of out, just don't throw your money into stuff. And keep in mind that anime conventions probably will have a little bit of a markup. Most of these are actually stalls, so they've had to pay for space and stuff like that. So I'm not saying don't buy anything from an anime convention, but just be aware that it might be a little bit more expensive than it would be otherwise. On the other hand, anime conventions are actually pretty good for getting, like you said, you get figures that you didn't know that was there. Sometimes you do get the odd cheap one. I know one of my friends bought a lovely Supersonico figure at a anime convention. It was the Bring 'em By sale. And they were like straight in and they're like, well, I've wanted this for a long time. It's only 50 quid. It's 100 quid elsewhere. I'm going to buy it. And yeah, it's one of those things that they kind of like, you just make that decision. It's one of those things. Just think before you purchase. That's all I'm saying. Number 1, and this is the most important one of all. We've already gone over, do you want it, do you need it, can you afford it? But before you buy it, do some research. And this is stupid stuff. Check my anime list for bootlegs. Check the price. If this figure's going for 100 quid and they're selling it for 20 quid, it's not going to be real. I mean, like I said, we go back to the person. It was a Bring 'em By sale. Those are pretty great because pretty much everything is legit, and a lot of cons do have a we only support legit merchandise. But online, on Amazon and eBay especially, they're kind of minefields. If you know that figure's going to be expensive and you're paying 20 quid for it, it's not going to be real. Do your research on stuff. Find out if... The other thing as well is like, find out if there's other similar characters, if there's other similar figures. It works both ways, not for negative but for positive as well. For example, like the Girls and Panzer series I bought a few, and then I was like, oh, there's a full set. Can I get the full set? Do I want the full set? Well, you kind of do, but I'm struggling to find them all. But that's stuff that you kind of want to kind of look into. If you buy one of a set, for example, I bought a Lupin set. I bought Lupin, Fujiko, and another one. Goemon. I bought them 3 in that set. But I can't find Jigen and I can't find Zenigata to complete the set. So that set looks incomplete. It doesn't look good on the shelf, really. It's one of those things, it's kind of like you need to be making these informed decisions before you buy them. Especially when these figures are costing a lot. And like I said, it also comes as well, do a bit of shopping around. If you go to an anime convention, don't buy it from the first shop you see. Especially Nendoroids. A lot of anime shops will be having them. You might only save 2 or 3 quid, but that's 2 or 3 quid towards your lunch, or 2 or 3 quid towards another anime figure. Do your research and stuff like that. If it's a very popular series, this is especially with Nendoroids, consider if you could wait. Now, we already spoke of My Hero Academia. That one was a weird one because it was not as popular as it was when they released. So the Deku and Bakugo Nendoroids came out, they sold out, they took a while to sell out, and then the series got really popular, and then they were kind of like, oh, we can't get these anywhere, they're now 100 quid, oh no. But then there's other series that kind of like Girls and Panzer, Yuri on Ice, One Punch Man. These are ones that they were pretty popular, but then all of a sudden they kind of Overwatch. I've seen loads of these ones, the Nendoroids, Overwatch Nendoroids. They were massively popular series. Then they kind of just went, yeah, we want them. And then there's like they release them, and then oh, not as everybody wants them. And then it's like, oh, these are quite expensive. Oh, a lot of people who want these can't afford them. Oh. And then I see Yuri on Ice and One Punch Man and Overwatch Nendoroids for like half the price now. Sometimes it pays to wait. If it's an expensive figure, kind of do your research and do it quickly, because those things are going to be expensive once they release. But if it's a common figure, don't rush into them. If it's a Nendoroid, do enough research so you know how popular a series is. You might be able to get them really cheap in a few months' time, or you might be expensive. Like the My Hero Academia Nendoroids, they're on the 4th re-release now. You can get them now for price. So again, if it's 100 quid and you're like, oh, it's quite rare, and it's a Nendoroid of a popular series, they're probably gonna re-release them. The other one was like stuff like Umaru. Umaru was expensive, and then they re-released it. She got cheap. Tanya the Evil, she was expensive. She's been released. She's now got cheap. Overlord, re-released, cheap. ReZero, re-released, cheap. My Hero Academia, the Nendoroids are probably going to end up being pretty cheap because a lot of people will have bought them, hoarded them. They'll try and get rid of them once they start going cheaper. Anyways, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you've got any tips, especially for beginners, let me know in the comments for collecting figures. I know I've rambled on, so thank you for your time, and if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, please consider subscribing. We've got some plenty more figure related stuff around here, and if you are into collecting figures, we're going to have another figure collection thing coming up very soon. Thanks for coming, and thanks again for staying. Goodbye.